Honkai Star Rail has a wonderful cast of characters. From wholesome and innocent children to the immortal and diseased, this game's characters along with their stories are what makes the game shine. Even if some characters get passives they don't deserve because their immortality is a fake and a fraud and having an actual weakness likes getting stabbed in the back, you son of a bitch, why do you get 3 when Blade gets 0? While people are over here talking about how to build the next 5-star, theorizing the lore in the story, or barking for the Herda for the next 30 minutes, I want to do something that I believe no one has ever done yet. Friendly hello hi, the name's Raph, and I'm here to celebrate Honkai Star Rail's 2nd anniversary by giving a combat path to things from a completely different side of the gaming world. Mario Kart items. I'm giving Mario Kart items combat paths from Honkai Star. How did I even get here? Before we begin, here's some information needed for those who come from the Mario Kart side of YouTube's algorithm. However, if you know how the combat system works in Star Rail, you can skip to this timestamp and get right into checking out what item I put in which path. But if you're still here, let me tell you how the combat works. Honkai Star Rail is a turn-based gacha game where characters have different roles, known as paths, when fighting in battle. The damage per second or DPS classes are known as the Hunt, Destruction, and Erudition paths. Hunt characters are single-target attackers, meaning their attacks only land on a singular enemy. Destruction characters mostly attack multiple targets in a form of blast attacks, meaning the main target gets the most damage while the adjacent targets get less damage. And finally, for all the, well, DPS, in quotations, characters, Erudition characters are characters that attack in the form of Area of Effect or AoE, meaning the attacks hit every single target on the battlefield. Next are the buffers, known as the paths of Harmony and Nihility. Harmony characters buff your DPSs like increasing their damage and other attributes I will show on screen, while Nihility characters make the enemies weaker by giving them debuffs such as damage over time or dot effects, and well, other kinds of debuffs, or in some cases like Akron where she just fucking kills everyone. Then we have Sustainers, which are characters that keep your party alive and well in the form of the paths of Abundance and Preservation. Abundance characters keep your party alive by healing them, while Preservation characters keep your party alive by giving them shields that soak the damage instead of your characters taking the hit. Most of the time. And finally, the most recent path is the Path of Remembrance. What does this path do? Everything but with literally another creature right next to you. Yup, that's right. Remembrance is just a jack-of-all-trades path that can do, well, almost everything. From buffing characters, dealing blast damage, and even killing everything on screen. The only thing missing is a sustaining Remembrance character, but with how one character, Hyacinth, has a history when it comes to healing, she's literally a physician in, like, the current story quest, I'm just gonna take a wild shot in the dark and assume she's a healer, since her kit isn't officially out yet. And while we're on the topic, no leaks! No leaks! They will immediately be deleted, so fuck you! Fuck you, yeah! Anyways, let's start with the ranking! Here are a few rules before we begin. Number 1, no Mario Kart Arcade items will be ranked in this video, and the same is said for Mario Kart Worlds items since the game isn't released yet. Number 2, I'm going off of this based on the Mario Kart Wiki that has a list of items displayed, so if there's anything I missed that isn't a part of the arcade titles, oops. Number 3, each item will be categorized into tiers that assign their path to make things easier to sort. And also, to make things easier, I'm going off each Mario Kart item based on their own categories, that being projectile items, melee items, obstacle items, effect items, and boost items. And number 4, Lucky 7 and Crazy 8 won't be included in the list of items due to how complicated the explanations would be, so they're gone. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, it's time to finally give Mario Kart items their respective paths, starting with Projectiles. These are items that you can throw in front or behind you during a race. The first kind of projectiles I want to talk about first are the shells. Green, red, blue, and Bowser. Green shells can be thrown behind or in front of the player, and can form a shield when received in threes. However, due to the offensive capabilities the green shell has, I will put the single green shells in Hunt tiers due to them getting destroyed once colliding with an opponent, while triple green shells can be put in destruction tier since they cannot aim for specific targets and both can bounce against the walls to hit at least 3-ish opponents if you have enough of them. However, the red shell, whether it is given in single or triple, always aims for the player in front of you, which is why both single and triple red shells will be put in hunt tier. Next up is the Bowser shell, which is the same as the green shell but, well, bigger and cannot protect you from incoming attacks. However, unlike the green shell, it proceeds to still be active after a single opponent can get hit, causing it to have the possibility of hitting other opponents when timed right. Due to that, I will be putting the Bowser shell in erudition tier since it can attack more than 3 opponents during a race. Finally, there's the blue shell, or spiny shell. Its main mechanic is that the blue shell targets the opponent in first place. However, as of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it can do other things, such as hitting opponents in the way as it flies to first place, and also causing an explosion radius upon impacting the opponent in first place as well, which can also deal damage to nearby opponents that the first place person is in. If I'm being honest, the blue shell is unique due to its single target attack, but the extra ability to attack multiple opponents makes it hard to rank or, well, give a path to. However, Boothill, a hunt character, has an Eidolon that makes him able to hit not only the primary target but also adjacent targets. So with that in mind, I will put the blue shell in hunt tier. But enough about the shells, let's move on to other projectiles. The Yoshi/Birdo egg is another red shell clone but with a unique twist. When it hits the opponent, 3 random items will come out of it. The items that can be dropped from the egg are the following: a green shell, a banana, a baobab, a mushroom, or a star. With the added ability to add hazards on the track, even if 2 of them could help your opponent, adding items on the track that can damage opponents due to it staying on there until it despawns gives disadvantages to any of your opponents, especially the different effects each items have. With that in mind, I feel like putting the Yoshi/Birdo egg in Nihility tier, which makes sense, especially with how slightly the path feels like a jack-of-all-trades kind of path. Well, until Remembrance came up. Anyways, there goes the egg! Next up are 2 similar items that I will group together: the Fireball and the Fire Flower. The Fireball item shoots fireballs in a cone grid with a single button press, while the Fire Flower needs constant button presses to shoot out multiple fireballs. With how much multi-target attack potential both the Fireball and the Fire Flower have, I'm gonna put them in erudition tier. And finally, the Boomerang Flower is the last projectile item on this part of the category. You throw the boomerang and it comes back to you twice, with the 3rd throw not going back to you but instead acting like a green shell temporarily, with it hitting a single opponent and keeping it going forth. Yeah, basically that. The boomerang will also hit not just one opponent but multiple if they're lined up correctly. However, with how straight the flight pattern of the boomerang is, I'm gonna just put it in hunt tier, as I think multiple targets getting hit at a straight line is just, I'm just gonna assume it's a facial follow-up attack or something. Anyways, now that we're done with the projectiles, let's move on to the melee items. Melee items are when an item's use in combat is only in the close vicinity of the player's cart, which is why it's called melee items. The first item I want to talk about is the Super Leaf. It's an item that surrounds your cart and swings its tail to attack opponents, deflect shells, and push bananas away from you with a press of a button, which can be spammed multiple times. Then after 10 seconds, the tail disappears. With how this item acts in Mario Kart 7, making it so that you can get it in 1st to 4th place, it can help you defend against incoming items that can come from your opponents from previous placings, making the Super Leaf incredibly defensive, which is why I am putting it in preservation tier. Next up is the Super Horn. The Super Horn defends you from shells, bananas, bombs, not the explosions though, boomerangs, and most importantly, the blue shell. It can also attack multiple opponents and even stage hazards like the piranha plants in Royal Raceway or the cars on Toad's Turnpike. However, unlike the Super Leaf's multiple uses, you can only use the Super Horn once. And I was originally planning on putting the Super Horn in preservation tier, but the Super Horn's single use and short time being active makes it not as good as the Super Leaf's defensive capabilities. And factoring in the far greater offensive opportunities the Super Horn has, such as the larger radius for attacking multiple racers and the ability to take care of stage hazards, I feel like a good place to put it is in Destruction tier. Next item is the Piranha Plant. It bites opponents in front of you and to your sides kinda, eats items that stay on the track like bananas, eat bloopers before they spray ink onto you, and gives you a small boost of speed whenever the plant bites down. Luckily, you can spam the button and the Piranha Plant will bite faster because of it, causing you to, well, move faster. Now, everyone, this is where things get interesting. We have an item that is sentient and can act on its own when activated. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should. That's how memo sprites work in Honkai Star Rail, which is why I will be putting the Piranha Plant in Remembrance tier. Now for the final item in the melee items category, we have the Heart. The way the Heart works is that it gives you a shield that can block most items in the form of 2 hearts. But there is a twist. Since the Heart comes in 2s, it can not only block most items, but get this, you can pick up said items and use them against other players, making it not just a shield, but a counter. With that in mind, it got me thinking of how Clara and Yun Li work in Star Rail. Whenever they get hit, they launch a counterattack against enemy targets. And with the vast majority of offensive items there are in Mario Kart, I feel like I can say that this is more of a counter rather than a shield. So with that in mind, I will put the Heart in Destruction tier. And finally, we have finished the melee items category, so it's time for us to head to the next category, which is obstacle items. Obstacle items are items that stay on the track after being used for a certain amount of time. The first ones I want to talk about are the singular banana and the triple banana. How it works is that the bananas can block items and hurt your opponents if they're put behind you or around you, and it can also be thrown in front or behind you so they can stay on the track for a long period of time and can be an obstacle that your opponents have to drive around. However, when it comes to the offensive nature of the bananas, that's it. Most people tend to use the bananas more as a shield rather than an offensive tool until they let go of them to get better items. So, with the bananas being more focused on acting like a shield rather than being an offensive tool, I feel like it's best to put both the singular bananas and the triple bananas in Preservation tier. But that isn't the same when it comes to the giant banana. The giant banana is pretty much a better version of the other bananas I mentioned earlier. However, unlike the previous bananas, the giant banana doesn't shield you from items. Instead, it's a full-on offensive obstacle that will explode into 3 normal bananas when in contact with an opponent. So, without the shielding potential, the giant banana will be going in Nihility tier because of its long-term effect on the track, which to me counts as a debuff. The next item in this category is the fake item box, which works the same as a banana, but it cannot shield you from items. So you gotta place it down. Since it works just like the giant banana without the whole splitting into 3s thing and, well, being tiny as shit, I will put the fake item box in Nihility tier as well. And finally, we have the Ba-Bomb. You throw it on the ground, it does a little walk, then it explodes after a few seconds. This one's pretty easy to rank. Since the Ba-Bomb is sentient, I will put it in Remembrance tier. Alright, 2 more categories to go and I can finally be free from recording this. So let's begin talking about the effect items. Effect items are items that cause specific effects to you and or your opponent during a race. The first one I want to talk about is the Star. The Star gives you invincibility, which makes you immune to all items, damage opponents when you touch them, and you can drive off-road with the effect active. It does give you a small boost, but it isn't anything major. Still, the defensive capabilities are greater than the offensive capabilities, so with that in mind, I'm putting the Star in Preservation tier. Next up is the POW block. How the POW block works is that it hits every single opponent in front of you, causing them to spin out and lose their items. Now, with the given fact that the POW block can hit more than 5 opponents depending on which placement you're in, it can count as erudition, right? Well, not really. Like I said earlier, the POW block not only hits opponents in front of you, but it also takes away your opponent's items. And to me, I see that as sort of a debuff, don't you think? Like, imagine saving a red shell only for it to be knocked out of you when you're trying to save it for later. With that debuff in mind, I'm gonna put the POW block in Nihility tier. The next item I want to talk about is the blooper. What it does is that it inks the opponents in front of you, causing them to have difficulty seeing the track for a short amount of time. Well, it's a debuff, it blinds your opponent, so it should be nihility, right? Nuh-uh, it's sentient, so I'm putting it automatically in remembrance tier. Next up, it's the thundercloud. Now, have you ever played Hot Potato? Well, if you have, that's literally the thundercloud. When you get it, you get an increased boost of speed. However, there is a timer. When the timer finishes, you get struck by lightning and you shrink, causing you to move more slowly for a short amount of time. But how do you get rid of it before the timer runs out? Easy, just pass it on to the other opponent. With the eventual debuff and the concept of passing the item on to another player, I'm putting the thundercloud in nihility tier. But while I'm talking about thunder, let's talk about lightning. The lightning item strikes every opponent, causing them to shrink and slow down temporarily, unless they are invincible in some way. Like, it's like the thundercloud but better. And since it gives the same debuff just like the thundercloud but to literally everyone but you, I will also put the lightning item in nihility tier. Next up is the boo. The boo will steal a random item from an opponent ahead of you, and it will also turn you intangible against offensive items, and it makes it easier for you to drive off-road for a short amount of time, just like the star. It's basically invincibility, but you're invisible. Since the boo is sentient, I will immediately put it in remembrance tier. And finally, we have the Mega Mushroom. The Mega Mushroom is similarly like the star in the sense that it grants you temporary invincibility to most items, can damage opponents when you run over them, and also lets you drive off-road until you shrink back to normal. Since the Mega Mushroom is basically a worse star but with similar purposes, I will put it in preservation tier. And now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, we are onto the final Mario Kart item category, that being the boost items. Boost items are items that boost your kart movement speed in any sort of way, which is why the entire time Abundance and Harmony are still fucking empty. But let's change that by adding our first boost item, the coin! The coin increases your base speed the more of them you collect, and with how plentiful they are on the track and how easy they are to collect in top places, the coin will finally be the first item in Harmony tier! But the next item is a lot more useful than the coin will ever be. And those items are the singular mushrooms and the triple mushrooms. What a mushroom can do is give you a quick boost of speed that can help you out in shortcuts and also help you dodge blue shells, which is pretty cool. And alright, I'm not gonna even sugarcoat it. The singular and triple mushrooms go in abundance here for the sole reason of literally helping you get back on your feet after getting hit by an item. But while we're talking about mushrooms, let's talk about the goat of all mushrooms, the golden mushroom. It works just like a normal mushroom, but you can hit the button to activate the mushroom multiple times for a spammable boost of speed until the timer ends. Since it works as just an even better mushroom, it is immediately going in abundance tier. Now, everybody, we only have 3 items left, so I will talk about the easiest one first, that being the Chain Chomp. It works just like the Piranha Plant, but way better. The Chain Chomp can help boost the player forward while knocking out opponents, but then detaches itself for a while, moving on its own until it either runs into a wall or off the track. Now, since the Chain Chomp literally moves on its own, boom, remembrance tier. It is clearly sentient, yup, automatically in remembrance tier, so yeah. Next is the second to last item, that being the Feather. The Feather's only purpose is to give you a single jump when activated. It can help you make shortcuts, dodge items, and help you traverse courses in different ways in the upcoming game Mario Kart World. I know I'm not supposed to talk about it, but hey, I love that the Feather's getting uses. With the Feather being a little buff to your card when used in the right scenario, I feel like putting it in Harmony tier is for the best. And finally, for our last item in this entire ranking is the beloved Bullet Bill. Famous for its shock dodges and bullet extensions, the Bullet Bill is just like the Chain Chomp, but way better. It not only boosts you forward without multiple button presses, but also makes you invincible to every item. You can also move the left stick slightly to try and damage opponents in front of you as well. With how powerful the Bullet Bill is, it's best to use it as soon as possible before you lose it via the Power Block or Lightning. Now, here's why this fuck-ass weapon is so hard to rank. It has the properties it needs to be an abundance item with its recovery, a preservation item with its invincibility, an erudition item with its vast damage towards opponents. It is really, really difficult. I put it in remembrance here to make things easier, but you don't summon the bullet bill and it moves on its own. You become the bullet bill. So where the fuck do I put this pain in the ass of a weapon? Well, in none of the paths I just mentioned. Instead, it's going in Harmony tier. Why? The damaging parts of the bullet bill no longer exist as seen in Mario Kart World. I know I'm not supposed to be ranking Mario Kart World stuff, but still, that's still one thing done either way. But as of the speed and invincibility, Bronya has a skill that can take away buffs and advances your action by 100%, which the bullet bill is capable of doing. And her basic attack can advance her action at a certain extent after she attacks. So there, that is by far the hardest item I had to rank, and it's going into Harmony tier. And also, most importantly, that is the last item I will rank until Mario Kart World releases. I'm free. Anyways, here's the full ranking of every single Mario Kart item that isn't in the arcade games or is new to Mario Kart World based on their Honkai Star Rail combat path. I hope you guys like it. If any of you guys have any changes or different opinions you want to share, let me know in the comments down below. And before I end things off, I want to give a quick shout out to my friends Pinc, Shiro, and Manny for helping me out giving their thoughts on the rankings before I finalized it. Go check them out in the description. Anyways, that's all from me today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stupid videos like this. But in the meantime, stay safe, have fun, and take care of yourselves, and I'll see y'all whenever. Farewell!